Yeah, it's good to see you. Let's start with sort of fitness updates. Probably best just to throw some names. Lewis Dobbin, where are we with him in terms of his car?
In a good place, I think. So this week for him has mostly been about rest. He will join the group, or he will do a little bit of a session tomorrow. He will join the group on Friday, so he will be prepared for the game on Saturday.
You were set?
Too early with him or too soon with him. So plan is for him to start up with the group on Monday and then be in contention for the squad for the Friday night game.
Emi Marcondes?
We test him tomorrow, and then we're gonna see. If everything goes well, then he can also be around the squad for the game Saturday already. If it goes well, of course.
Kenny McLean?
Still having a little bit of symptoms from that chest infection, so he's been on different medication to settle it down and to solve it. So it takes some rest for him, and he needs to be just off feet and not do too much for a period. So Saturday will be too soon. Hopefully he can be around the squad for Friday.
With that, because it's clearly a medical thing rather than sort of an injury fitness thing, is the management of that slightly different? Because I guess it's just waiting for something to work.
It's just waiting, and he's impatient and frustrated because he's all right when you see him. There's nothing that affects his everyday life. So he's in and he's in the building and he's doing the stuff that he can. And it still feels a little bit when he's running out there, which of course we have to get rid of. And it takes probably, when he started the medication, 7 to 10 days to settle it down, and then of course after those 7 to 10 days he needs to get back in training, and we need to have him integrated with the squad. And we hope that it's going to be in time so we can have him available for the game Friday.
And in terms of the other guys that are out, Forsyth, Gibbs, still sort of working on their sort of recovery?
Yeah, Forsyth was out there running today, so he's hopefully back with us soon. It could be, I think, realistic next week sometime, so probably at the end of next week, so Thursday, Friday, something like that. It will be good for us because we step into a 3-game week after the Friday one, so the more players available, the better. Gipsy, I think, is still doing his rehab, and I think what was the plan with him is after the international break. And Gabe Forsyth is just he's on a 2-week rehab now, where we have to start to build him up nice and easy, and then to see when he starts to strike a ball full pace, full speed, whether he feels pain still when he's doing that, because that was the thing that hurt him last time, and he was in pain when he was about to strike a ball as hard as possible. So that's what we have to wait and see. We have to build him up to be able to do that, and it will take 10-12 days from now.
Obviously a couple more days, but as we sit here today, are there any sort of fresh fitness concerns that you're looking at going into Saturday? No. I think everyone came through the game in a good way. It was only Lewis Dobbin, but that was more like managing the risk, and unfortunately for him and for us, not a significant injury or something like that. So no, not that I can remember. And obviously a lot of those players on that list are midfielders and central midfielders. Yeah. I think Saturday was your 18th different midfield trio that you've had to play this season. Is that lack of consistency in that position in particular, has that been frustrating to you, because it's such a key area of the pitch for what you're trying to do?
Yeah. But again, frustration is not worth it. So we just have to get on with it. And I'm really pleased that, especially, I mentioned a couple of times, especially the second half in Hull, I think it was really good. I think it was, again, with a completely new midfield, very, very good in many ways. And I think the game Stoke was good in many ways with that midfield again. And I think it just tells a lot about the players and their qualities that they can do that. It's never what we aim for in the start of a season. You want to see if you can stick to probably the same back line as much as possible with the same goalkeeper, and you want to stick with the same midfield group, and then have a little bit of rotation, which is something you do on purpose, not because you're forced to do it. But it is how it is, and I think we get on with it, and I think we've done it in a good way. And fortunately for us and for the players, more starts to be available again, and the players who are playing at the moment, I think, have been doing quite well.
I think it's right that you haven't had sort of Kenny McLean, Marcelino Nunez, Borja and Josh in the same team since about October. So when you look at that, does it sort of speak to maybe some of the inconsistency that your team has had this year?
Yeah, it makes sense. We played Preston at home. It was not a good game for us, and there's no excuses because we should have done better. we still play with a Jacob Wright who comes in and plays senior football for probably the first time in his life in the championship. So how much can we actually expect? I think it would be so much wrong for me to go hard on a player like him or some of the others where there's some pressure, but there's also some expectations, and it's not down to them to be the leaders of a squad yet. It's too soon in their career. So we're looking forward. That's also why I'm optimistic, because what I see with some of the players at the moment, I think they're doing well, and we're optimistic when Kenny's back in the team, and we can have that midfield group as we planned for when the season started, and we can. Now Josh is ready again, and he looks like a quite okay striker at the moment. And with Borja back in the team, I think there's some good things going on, and we're building towards that. I would have hoped that we were, a little bit more consistent at this part of the season, having the same team for more games in a row this part of the season, but it hasn't been the case. So we just have to get on with it, solve it.
Obviously, we're coming off the back of what was a very good result at the weekend, a win that you obviously needed. I know you were quite frustrated afterwards. When you've watched it back and analysed it, has some of that frustration sort of subsided a little bit, or is it still there? Are you still looking for?
No, it was still there. I went home and I watched the game, and I tried to enjoy it, and I did, because I think the first part of the game is really, really good. Probably one of our better performances this season. And then there is those moments in the game which I told you guys that I will highlight for the players, and we did that the morning after, just to show them what is it exactly I mean when we switch off for minutes on the pitch, when we don't take the right decisions, when we are a little bit too sloppy in our passing game, when I think, without knowing a better word, I think in some moments we're probably a little too arrogant, in some moments where we're a little bit too loose in our body shape and the passes are not clean enough and stuff like that, where we need to understand that in this league we have to be as good as possible in all our actions. Otherwise it can change within a second, as we saw in the game against Stoke. So there was definitely those moments. I'm not satisfied with the last 5-7 minutes before halftime, and probably also some moments in second half where we're just too loose.
And obviously, we don't want to highlight individuals, but I think there has been sort of people looking at Shane Duffy, and obviously because of the mistake for the goal and the penalty and the offside goal as well. When there is those mistakes and they're quite high profile, how do you deal with that with a player? Is it about sitting them down and talking them through it?
I talk with him about it, and he's that kind of person who immediately just says, I know. I have to do better in this situation. The situation against Stoke was that he was outstanding for the first 35 minutes, and he was a big part of us succeeding with our build-up and creating the chances that we did. And then, just before half-time, is it a big mistake? No, it's probably not a big mistake. It's just the wrong decision. And then we get punished, probably also the hardest punishment we can get from that situation. It's still a good first touch from the Stoke player, and it's a good finish and stuff like that, but it's just down to the decision, and the same with the two short pass after we scored the second goal in second half, where it's also down to a decision where there needs to be better. But he's also, when we look at all the stats, he's up there having, most passes of probably all of the players in the league at the moment, because he's so much involved on the ball. So there will be mistakes, but it's just about how of course he will get on with it. I think what we have to get rid of is this inconsistency and the unforced errors, because that we cannot continue with.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him specifically, because you've praised him quite rightly this season, been very good this year. And is it just a byproduct of the fact that because the way you want to play football, your centre backs do have touches?
It is. I could tell him to kick it away every time he's on the ball, and then we'll be defending instead.
Yeah, and that's the trade-off, isn't it? If you're going to ask a player to do that, then you have to expect that there's going to be some mistakes within that.
Exactly. So football is a game where there's a hell of a lot of mistakes, and they will happen over and over and over again. So it's how you create the structure in your team so you're not punished as we were against Stoke. So I also think there's some reactions for some players that they need to see it, and they need to react to that and find and take a better position so we don't open up that center of the goal. So that's a part of it. How do we shape the team? How is our structure when we attack so we don't concede too many counter attacks where we can avoid it? That was the reason why I was a bit annoyed with the fourth in first half against Stoke, where he allowed the player to come on and be a part of their counter attack in first half, because we cannot prepare that. But if he was on in that position, we should have prepared that better, and that's a big job for me and for the analysts on the game day and for the coaches on the game day to solve that part. So we create the best environment for the players to not be punished too hard for mistakes, because mistakes will always happen.
And in terms of obviously some changes that you made to the structure that were good, Callum Fisher, I think, well, that's been picked out in terms of how much higher he was noticeably. Well, I mean, clearly that was a conscious decision. Was that off the back of sort of the struggles against Derby and the low block sort of issues that maybe you've had? Was that change a result of that?
Yeah, I think we looked at some of the games, and a fact is also that we need, probably based on Derby, based on Preston, we need a little bit more activity in and around the box. And sometimes if you have good positions up front, then you can bring the ball into the box, and you can be ready on second balls, and you can counter press, and you can create chances from that. And I think we lacked that against Derby and against Preston. We were not offensive enough. We didn't risk actually the ball enough on the final third, and that we have to do. And a way to do that is to bring in more crosses. We of course try to create moments where it's not just random crosses for duels, but it's crosses into space, and we have positions arriving in that space, as we saw with the Josh Sargent chance in second half, and the chance where I think it's fair to say Oscar should have scored also in second half. That's the way we want to bring in crosses, where it's still low crosses into space, and we have players arriving in that time. But I think it came down to some analysis where we said, okay, we need more activity in the box.
But for him as well, because you've used him sort of inverted, and it's been sort of in possession elements, and when you've wanted that sort of height, you've often gone for Jack Stacey in that position. So it speaks a lot about his development this season, the fact he stepped into a very different sort of form. He
can do it because he has the technical abilities to do it. He's a great crossing player, and he's a great technical player, and just when you have that as one of your skills, then of course you can cover more positions and different positions. And I think we saw it against Hull, a very good assist, and we saw it against Stoke, where he probably also could have scored in first half, where he went for the front post instead of the second post. So it's just praise to him. He's doing well, and it also creates moment for us with a little bit more rotations in the team, because now he have tried more positions, so we can rotate a little bit, be a little bit more flexible in our attacking approach, and also release our midfielders once in a while, as we saw with the chance for Nacho in first half, where he should have scored.
Just one on Josh Sargent, maybe a slightly different one. Obviously 7 goals in 6 is a really good run of form that he's in. I know the sort of coach that you are, you'd be looking at him and sort of the areas for improvement. I think most people outside look at him and think, well, he's pretty good at this level. There isn't anything else to add to his game. So what are the areas that maybe you're trying to push him to improve him, to maybe take him up to even the next level?
Yeah, I think he needs to run more. I think when we probably look at the best 9s in the league above us, and they run more, and they are still more active in the game, and they are more involved in the game. I think still there's moments of the game where he can seems like he can be out of the game for 5-10 minutes, where we need him to be involved for those 5-10 minutes, because when he is involved, he's very good for us. So it's probably just to push him a little bit more on that physical side, where he's still, of course, he will never be the most agile player in terms of change of direction in a small area, but he's quite fast, and he can run, and but the thing is, we try to get him to move even more and find new positions even more, in behind, show for the ball, in behind, show for the ball, all that stuff that should keep on he should keep on going with for 90 minutes. So that's where we push him, because we can see when he is involved, he's a big threat.
Yeah, I think it was 2 goals from 12 touches. I mean, it's quite remarkable how
so
he's scoring from...
Just imagine if he had 20 touches.
Exactly. And but I guess for him, there's also probably a patience element, because as a striker, you can come deeper, you can start looking for stuff. So it's probably a balance between the two.
And some of the stuff going on, especially in the first half with him, Lewis and Borja, was probably some of the better movements we have seen this season. We highlighted also throughout this week for the players that there was so many good stuff going on, or good things going on, where one player ran in behind and the other one was showing for the ball, and the opposite movements always stretching the back line of Stoke, which is so important, because when we're on the ball, we look at the centre backs and the midfielders where they can find space, but that space needs to be opened up by the strikers and the players who are on the last line, and that was really, really good stuff. And I think there was a good variation between going in behind of the back line, playing in front of them, switching the play in front of them, and many good situations. So it's actually that we just want to see more of.
And obviously looking ahead to this weekend, Blackburn away, they've obviously just made a managerial appointment. How does that affect the preparation side of things? Because obviously we're 3 days out. Do you suddenly have to go and watch sort of how he set teams up and do that sort of work now?
Yeah, we had to. So I'm sorry, analyst department. That's how it is, because I messaged them yesterday and said now we have to watch Watford, we have to watch Besiktas, we have to watch West Bromwich, and we have to make sure that we get all of the stuff covered. Of course, there's some uncertainty and there's things that we will never know and we will never get to know. We don't know the kind of players he likes, how he preferred the team to be on his first game and stuff like that. Some coaches, they come in and change a lot on the first game. Sometimes they just stick with the things that's been going on and then change piece by piece or bit by bit throughout the season. There's different approaches to that, so that we have to wait and see. And again, leads so much back to the approach that we have, that we focus probably 70-80% about us. It's how good we can be, because I genuinely believe that if we are playing up to our highest level, we can win every game we play in this league, and that's the ambition we have. But of course, we have to be prepared for as many scenarios as possible.
Have you seen a big change in Blackburn from obviously John Eustace to obviously maybe the caretaker spell that they've had? Was that a big change, or was there a lot of
No, I think there was many similarities, and I think that staff who took over for a shorter period will also stay as the backroom staff now with the new coach coming in. So probably some of the same things are going on, and I think they are quite aggressive in their out of possession phase. So when they are high pressing, and they can be man orientated, but they can also work with a lot of intensity going on, and then some good players up front who can cause troubles and problems for us if we're not aware and if we're not supporting each other well enough. But I think I'm impressed with their intensity in the game, and I think they managed to put a lot of teams under pressure in a good collective, intensive way, and I think they will definitely stick to that and also try to do that on Saturday.
In terms of you guys and how you've sort of travelled this season, you look at the difference in goal scoring that you've had at home. I think it's 41 at home, 14 away. I mean, that feels like a big gap to just be sort of coincidence. Is there a reason that you can pinpoint as to maybe why you haven't been quite as effective from that side?
There's a big difference. There's a big difference going away from home, and it's never easy. And I also highlighted some time ago that if you look at the points on average for most of the teams in the league, there's not many teams who are more than 1.5. Where you normally see in many leagues that the top teams, they also have 2 points in average away from home or something close to that, and we're not there yet. I think the Hull game was a step in a good direction. I think the Watford game was in many ways, and I think Luton was not one of our best games, but that was just a hard fight from minute one to the end. But I think we are getting better and better. We have to open up the goal scoring account also on away from home and do it more and create more chances and just be better offensively. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons that we've struggled a little bit to find the same rhythm as we can at home. And that's development in the team. But I think I see definitely development if I just go back to the games I mentioned here. Of course, we lost a couple of away games against the top teams in the league, but we struggled for many reasons in those games. But I think we are taking steps, but still small steps in an okay direction.
Yeah, obviously, you know how fans will look at this game in terms of Blackburn being 4 points ahead, being sixth in the table where you are as well. Does it feel like an opportunity for you in terms of pushing closer to
I think I think everything is an opportunity for us at the moment. We always just have to be aware that there's no. What I don't believe in football is that you can say, okay, now we have 5 finals, or now there's a game that is worth 6 points, or now this occasion is so much bigger than all the others. I don't believe in that. I believe that Saturday is another game in the league, and we have to do our best, and we have to play up to our maximum in every aspect of the game, and that's the journey I would like to take the players on. So it doesn't have to be a very important one where there's so much at stake, or beginning of the season. There should be no change, or there should be no difference in our approach. It should be the same. It takes some time before we are there, but that's the approach we have.
And that was going to be my final question, because like 4 of the next 5 people would look at as being teams in the around you, but you sort of answered that there in terms of message. But I'm sure for players it's the same. I'm sure they look at fixtures and deal with that in the same way. So I guess it's about messaging from you and your coach's perspective to make sure that it's very single focused on
yeah, because you don't get performance or results from looking. And I can look at a game in the championship and I hope for this result, but the next week it changes. And then it's the other team that is in front of us or just behind us or just next to us in the league. So you never know. The only thing that will get you points is good performances. So that's where we should start. If the performance is not good enough, then forget about anything else. So that's the focus we have, and that's why I love these weeks where we get in on a Monday, we get started, and we can prepare and we can train in a good way, leading on till the Saturday, where we then have to perform. That's all it takes, and that's where we have to improve. I still definitely see some good stuff going on. I think the training mentality is top, even though the weather was it was cold and it was wet out there today, but it was top focus and top concentration. And if we can carry that into the games, then we can compete and perform on a consistent level.
Thank you.
Thank you.